Number 8, discussion of shared services agreement with the Town of Salina. This is an issue that we've been working for an extended period of time. One of the significant things with sharing an assessor is we're going to be able to save at least $20,000 to $25,000 immediately as soon as the decision is made to share that individual. He's probably one of the most capable individuals for an assessor in this part of the state. The information I've been able to gather on him, he's very well-mannered. You're able to talk to him. If there's an issue, he's more than willing to sit down with you with an appointment and talk. Other than that, Brad, would you like to add anything? Could you just tell us more about your background? I know you've been in this business for an extremely long period of time.
Thank you. I've been the
assessor. Give us your name first, please.
Brad Brennan. I've been the assessor in Town of Salina for 22 years. During my time, we instituted a revaluation, and we have been doing yearly review in Salina since 2001. I believe that we've accomplished an awful lot in the time I've been there, and hopefully we can move forward with a similar project in Town of Cicero. As Chet mentioned, we can save money on the assessor's salary and benefit package, and I think that there will be an economy of scale that will help us save even more down the road. Any questions?
I have a question.
Yes.
The newspapers reported $100,000 savings. From the calculations from our comptroller's office, it's between $20,000 and $25,000 for the Town of Cicero. Is the Town of Salina saving $75,000 to $76,000?
No, I don't believe that that figure was correct, and I did speak with the supervisors on that. I'm not sure where that number came from. It didn't come from us. I didn't agree with that number. It may be a compilation of the $92,000 that both towns will receive, approximately $92,000 when the revaluation is done and the formal coordinated assessing comes into being. So that may be, I mean, we're talking $180,000 there.
I was going to ask you about that.
Excuse me.
About that part that you just mentioned.
Yeah, and it's a one-time savings. That's why it's not a number that we've been discussing too much, because we're looking at the long-term savings there.
Right, and the Town of Cicero is already going to begin the process that's going to cost between $700,000 and maybe $1 million for the revaluation process. So I'm just a little concerned about the monies that are being juggled back and forth, and how things are going to be accomplished.
Yes, I understand that.
Okay. One more thing this might be something that I need to ask Heather about, which concerns me a little bit, and that is the final draft here that I received, which says that Town of Cicero has to defend and indemnify the Town of Salina for acts of omission of the assessor while the assessor is working in the Town of Cicero. That worries me a little, because I don't totally understand that.
I do my best to try and explain. The other option too is if at some point the board wants to enter into an executive session to speak directly with Brad and maybe your comptroller about some of these issues, I just want to remind you that that is an option for you. But as far as that clause, that's something that Salina's attorney and insurance carriers required. The way I read that is that if an act of the assessor were to cause either or both municipalities to be sued, and that act occurred as a result of his actions in the Town of Cicero, that the Town of Cicero will be responsible for indemnifying the Town of Salina, because the acts would have occurred in his capacity as Cicero's assessor, but in all likelihood the Town of Salina would get named in the lawsuit because he will technically be an employee of the Town of Salina.
Does Salina have the same language in their thing?
I don't believe it's reciprocal language just because of the nature of the relationship. Having said that, both municipalities, he will be covered through the insurance for Salina in his capacity as working for the Town of Cicero. So he will be insured for his actions.
Okay, but, you know, I would hope that someplace along the line that the same kind of circumstance.
I can certainly speak with their attorney and see
Yeah.
if we can make the
Would-
language more reciprocal. I'm just not sure
Yes.
that because of the nature of the agreement, it would be applicable, but
I
I can
can-
certainly speak to him about that.
I can understand how it might not be, but this, you know, this is a little bit disconcerting for me in regards to, you know, I'm not saying I'm anticipating a problem already, but this, I would hope it would be reciprocal, that if things, you know, that as our assessor as well, we don't become involved in something that's
So
going on in
Salina-related.
Salina, that because he's our assessor, now we might be part and parcel to one of those lawsuits.
I can certainly speak to him about that. I can understand and appreciate the concern, so I will address that.
Thank you.
Brad, I have a quick question for you. Thanks for coming here tonight and taking on the challenge. I think it's a great project. The only, and I think you've explained this at the initial hearing you were at prior to this one, in that the only question some residents had is the sharing of time and the sense that perhaps the loss of access to an assessor. Can you explain how you envision it? I know you've explained it before, and I think it's a great plan, but just so everybody knows what the plan in that respect is.
Yes, I don't see a problem with that. I'm used to multitasking. I can return calls usually within half a day, and I believe that I can still do that. If the plan is to spend 2.5 days in each town, I can take calls in either town if it's okay with the board and the supervisor, because I can usually handle those calls within minutes, so it's not going to tie me up, take me away from other work that needs to be done. We have email. I'm going to look into having my emails forwarded here so that anything that comes through, excuse me, through email, which is a way that I very often work with our attorneys, I'll know right away and I can deal with those things immediately. Returning a call is never a problem, so that will not be a problem.
Thanks.
Teresa Frank, is there anything you'd like to add? Teresa's with the,
New York State Office of Real Property Services. I'm the regional director here in Syracuse. The only thing I said last time, to be comforting, mostly to Charlotte, because Charlotte was voicing some very valid concerns, was that nothing's locking you into trying this, and you haven't had a high success rate with the past couple of assessors, and I think you're looking for a refreshing change right now. I think this is a step in the right direction. I think there's nothing locking you in. I'm not trying to be negative and say you can get out at any time. I hope it works. But there's nothing locking you in at this point. The only tricky little thing down the road is after the reassessment in both towns that are 100%, and you get that benefit of getting that cap aid from the state, then if you disband at that point, you'll have to pay back a prorated share of the state aid you received. So because they want you to be in it for 10 years once you're in it, or you pay back money. But even then you can get out at any time. It can't hurt to try this. He's a very competent individual. I've worked with him for years. I wouldn't have recommended him originally if I didn't think he was very competent and very good with the public. I really feel comfortable. This is a good step. It certainly can't hurt you to try it.
thank you.
Okay.
Any other questions? I'd just like to make a motion that we enter into an executive session to discuss the employment of a particular person, and I invite the attorney, the controller, and Mr. Brennan into executive session. We will be reconvening, and that's in the form of a motion.
Second.
Mr. Conway?
Yes.
Ms. Tarwacki?
Yes.
Mr. Ryback?
Yes.
Mr. Coro?
Yes.
Mr. Kaczynski?
Yes.